Hi folks, this is your NWIS Planning Outlook with the details towards the weekend and beyond. The general situation at the moment is a rather unsettled one, very much dominated by low pressure over the Atlantic. That will continue through this week ahead, as shown on this chart. Higher pressure is away toward the south and east. We've got milder southwesterlies across the southern parts of Britain, but relatively cool across west and northwestern parts, with air circulating around those lows over the North Atlantic. So cool across the mountain tops and feeling chilly, especially when exposed to the strong winds. Temperatures are near or just above the seasonal averages over the 5 days through Sunday. Temperatures overall across Europe are on the warmer side, part of this milder southwesterly pattern that is extensive at this time. Early October for us is looking quite close to average overall, the warmer conditions indicated to be focused toward the south of France and across Spain and Portugal. Rainfall totals over 5 days to Sunday keeps things pretty wet over most mountain areas. There will be some variation day to day, but it's Western Scotland that sees the highest of the values, up to about Skye and Torridon. Here some very wet ground conditions, saturated underfoot, streams and rivers in spate or flood, so do be aware of that one. Western Scotland stays pretty wet over the next 5-day period into next week as well, as west or southwesterly winds prevail, some further weather systems coming through. Maybe less wet compared to recently across western parts of England and Wales, and once more eastern parts of the Highlands seeing lower rainfall totals again. A very active looking chart for Wednesday with this deep area of low pressure moving in. That's been named Storm Agnes by the UK Met Office. That is going to produce some very powerful winds, strengthening during the daytime, becoming stormy across most of the mountains. Across Scotland, those will peak into the later afternoon and evening, but getting to 70-80 miles per hour or more across the higher tops later in the day. The winds strengthening sooner for Wales, here getting to storm force even by the middle of the day, and gusts around the very highest tops in North Wales could well be exceeding 90 or even 100 miles per hour on the very highest summits later in the afternoon. Heavy rain sweeping in from the southwest, that becoming extensive across Scotland too through the afternoon, although northern regions escaping dry for a good part of the day. Overnight rain will clear, but further pulses of rain and drizzle coming in from the west during the day on Thursday, most frequent across the western coastal mountains in Scotland. A lot of isobars on the chart, and it stays a windy day, not as stormy as Wednesday, but still upland gales or even severe gales at times across the higher terrain. We're just watching this next feature running in from the southwest. It could be that produces some more persistent rain again into Wales later in the day, but there is still a bit of uncertainty on just how that one develops. More eastern regions faring best for drier conditions and the highest of the cloud bases. A windy day again on Friday with low pressure toward the north of Scotland, but a squeeze on the isobars across much of the country. Those wind speeds could still be severe gale force then for a good part of the day, in excess of 70, perhaps even 80 miles per hour at times on the highest mountains in the northern half of Scotland, but widely gale force across the Scottish mountains, touching gale force too at times across the tops in northern England and maybe across North Wales for a while, but those speeds may just come down as high pressure begins to build from the south. Showery rain frequent in west and northwest Scotland, a scattering of showers passing eastwards, but few and far between across most of England and Wales, but a few drizzly showers now and again near to the Irish Sea coasts. That ridge of high pressure builds northwards and eastwards through Friday night into Saturday. It's a temporary feature, but it may just give another window of decent weather for Saturday like last week. But we've got to watch once more for things deteriorating from the southwest. There is quite a bit of uncertainty how this next area of low pressure develops, but that brings the risk of some strengthening winds in the west and some rain pushing into West Wales, perhaps later in the day, advancing further north into southwest Scotland. Timing is crucial with that one, so just keep a close eye on Saturday's forecasts. By Sunday, it looks more generally as though we're back into a southwesterly airflow pattern with strong or gale force winds across the higher tops, and rather humid, mild conditions which will produce a lot of cloud and drizzly rain across most western hills, perhaps some more persistent rain, just depending on which one of the various frontal systems is more active by this stage. Western Scotland at the greatest risk of that. We're still dominated by low pressure then into the start of next week, with rain or showers frequent in western Scotland, strong west or southwesterly winds too, possibly a spell of rain across England and Wales. The frontal system could just come through here, but that is uncertain for now. There is another ridge of high pressure trying to build from the southwest in this rather transient Atlantic-dominated airflow pattern. That could give some quieter weather for some into Tuesday, but we're still being fed by those southwesterlies into the middle of the week, so things still look rather changeable, but it could just be that begins to weaken further into next week, where that high tries to expand further across the country. We'll just need to keep an eye on how good that becomes. Conditions may well vary then through that week as a whole. That's the 7-day pressure anomaly patterns, with that westerly flow tending to clear away eastwards and that ridge of high pressure starting to build for a time, but a zone of lower pressure still over the Atlantic and a trough over to the west of us still brings the indication that more changeable conditions are never too far away further into the new month. The trends towards the middle of October would just see lower pressure toward the north of the country and high pressure away toward the south and west. It could just be by the stage things are cooler. We were looking at that in last week's video, the potential for some cooler air coming down from the northwest towards the middle of October. Changeable, mixed and showery, perhaps not quite as stormy as the current time. Weak signals further ahead. It looks generally westerly with low pressure to the northwest and high pressure to the southwest, but maybe just some signs of a broader zone of high pressure building to the east of us, which in the later stages of October shows some suggestions from the models of building further across northern Europe, so perhaps a more settled spell later on in the month. A long way off though to get any detail out of that. Mixed autumnal patterns then, all your very latest local details of course can be found every day on our website. That's your planning outlook for today. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.